Well, a very good morning to you. This is My Doctor. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Winnie Lubembe. Now, today we want to address a very, very sensitive topic that probably most of the time people are shy to talk about or don't want to talk about it because of cases of stigma and discrimination. Well, we decided to tackle it today on My Doctor, and that is on domestic violence. And hear about this very shocking statistics that we found, that the rate of domestic violence in sub-Saharan Africa is among the highest in the world. And of course, over 47% of women in Kenya have experienced physical or sexual violence. And of course, this is higher than pooled estimates from 81 countries, which show that nearly 30% of women experience physical or sexual intimate partner violence, of course, during their lifetime. So of course, that is why we decided to talk about it today. Of course, in the country, of course, we have experienced cases of femicides, of domestic violence, gender-based violence here and there. And the more we keep quiet, the more these cases continue to rise. So we decided to talk about it today, like I said, on the show. So if you are watching us right now and probably have been affected one way or the other by domestic violence, then of course, feel free to call us as well and share your story with us, or send us a text message on 40920. We'll be looking at them very, very shortly. My guests are here. Of course, they are ready, on set, waiting for us to start the discussion. As you can see them, of course, we have a psychologist, which we all know by now, because she has been with us for a very, very long time. And of course, not forgetting, we also have Pauline, who will be sharing her story with us on how or what exactly happened during her time when she was married and why she decided to leave, of course, the marriage. So again, you want to stick around till the end of the show, but before we get into that discussion, take a look at this video. We'll be right back with more. All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. This is My Doctor, and of course, just in case you're tuning in right now, today we are tackling a very, very sensitive topic, I must say, and that is on domestic violence. So again, if you're watching us right now, probably have been affected, or you are experiencing the same and don't really know what to do or who to talk to, then feel free to text us on 40920. Of course, we'll be looking at them very, very shortly. But for now, let me introduce my guest very, very briefly. And of course, we'll start with you, Pauline. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
And first of all, thank you so much for just accepting the call to just come and share your story, because like I said, this is not something that so many people talk about because of so many reasons, which of course we'll be looking at very, very shortly. But for now, just say hi to our lovely audience.
Hi.
And then tell them your name and what you do.
I am Pauline Juma. I just turned 25 on 9th January, so I am 25.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. And I am a mother to two wonderful boys, and I'm a sexual gender-based violence activist in Kibera, Kawangware, and Dandora. Yeah, and the reason I love sharing my story.
Yeah.
I believe in a story a day keeps the perpetrators away.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for coming. And of course, Happy New Year, first of all.
Thank you, Winnie. Happy New Year to you. I'm very well.
You look lovely.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming as well. Thank you very much. So just in case someone is tuning in today for the very first time and thinking, oh, okay, Sawa.
Now, my name is Grace Kariuki Nderito, and I am a marriage and family therapist and also a mental health specialist. Yes.
All right. And can we just, I mean, we looked at the statistics, and of course, I mean, Africa, of course, has the highest, but in Kenya, a lot of women, have gone through this. But when we talk about gender-based violence, of course, today we're not talking about gender-based, but domestic per se. But when we talk about gender, I mean, this cuts across. Because most of the time when we talk about gender, the focus is mostly on women, but not forgetting that also men go through the same. So can we just start with then domestic violence? Like what qualifies to be termed as domestic violence before we talk to Pauline?
Sure. Most of the time when we hear domestic violence, we think of physical, fighting, pushing, that kind of thing. But domestic violence can be anything that makes you feel intimidated, threatened, physically, assaulted, sexually assaulted within your relationship, emotional. We talk about emotional abuse. We talk about financial abuse, we talk about verbal abuse. So it's anything that is violence towards you from your spouse, that is termed domestic violence. And so it's not just physical. We can talk about psychological, mental, emotional, and even financial, like withholding, because anything that somebody who you are in relationship with that uses to punish you and to hurt you can be termed abusive, because an intimate relationship is supposed to be protective, loving, and kind. And so when that person turns against you and makes you feel unsafe in any way, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and we even talk about spiritual abuse, where you are not allowed to go to church, or you are told you can only go to a certain church. So those kinds of things.
And then you see there's a very thin line, because most of the time, and when you talk to people, especially who've gone through it, they will tell you, oh, well, I saw the signs first, but I thought probably they will change. Or this is just him, or this is just her, and they will, let's say, get over it. But then again, they didn't. And by the time I realized that, it was somehow too late. So of course, we'll also talk about then, when do you pick up these red flags and when do you act? Because I think for most people, the biggest problem is then, how do I act? Do I go? Do I go out, or do I? All right. But for you, Pauline, when did it start? Because like you said, I mean, you're 25. You're still very young, I would say. So just take us back to when did this all begin?
Just after high school, I ran away from home and decided I'm going to get married. And it was after a very tragic experience when I was just 16. I stayed with a secret from the time I was 16 of being a rape survivor, and I was not telling anyone. So my decision to go get married was to find out if I can give birth, and also to just to look for love in another person, because I didn't accept myself and I didn't love myself at that time. And so it was just a good relationship, and this man reminded me every day that he loved me. And being a firstborn, I am very hardworking, and I was taught from the time I was really young, you have to be hardworking. So I was in the house, a 19-year-old girl. I am the one providing in that house. I have to make sure I am going to work. And then I was pregnant at that time. And when I was 6 months pregnant, one day I did not clean the house because I was too tired. I did not clean the house. So he came, asked a question, and I just looked. I could not answer. And the next thing, I was slapped, and he was trying to squeeze my stomach and beating me up. Why haven't you cleaned the house? No wonder you were defiled when you were young. You're so stupid. He was abusing me, beating me at the same time. And you know, after all that, I ran away and I went home to my mom. My mom asked me what happened, but something very funny. I told my mom, nimeanguka kwa stairs. And my mom looked at me and realized, before I was beaten up, it was more of verbal. You're stupid. Look at you. How do you even look? And I was assuming. You see, I was telling myself every day, maybe one day he'll change, he'll change, he'll change. And something else, I was like, because sometimes he would abuse me and at the same time remind me that you're beautiful. We were not raised, I was not raised with a mother who told me I am beautiful. So this man telling me I'm beautiful, all my hopes were on him. And that day I went to mom, and mom told me, ile siku utachoka kuanguka kwa stairs, please come back home. But I still went back to that house. In the evening, I recollected myself and went back to that house. And he apologized, and we were all okay. I gave birth to my son. 1 month later, I went to work. Because I have never been used to depend on people so much. So I went back to work. And it was all the same. Now it was worst. You reach work, after 10 minutes, he is called. Mtoto analia. Come back for your child. And you know, at that time, you've made sure your child is okay,
Everything,
you've
you
prepared
prepared
everything
everything.
so that when you go to work, you're okay. 3 months later, I couldn't work. I couldn't work. I was working at Barclays Bank at that point as a sales representative. And I had to quit work. And now drama began.
All right, let's take a pause from here. Whew. Okay, so, and there's so many questions that I have, because like he said, once, I mean, you, of course, ran away from home because kept a secret and you didn't sort of feel safe. Was it like a family member who defiled you, or it was someone else?
Someone very close, to the family. Very close to the family.
So
and the threats,
yeah,
if you dare
if you
speak,
tell,
we are going to kill your mom.
Yeah.
And so it was a secret to me for a long time.
Yeah.
And it was not only a secret because it was something that was eating me up. You see, I was 16 and now I'm 19. It's been 3 years of asking myself questions. Am I ever going to give birth? Do really men love me? My mother has never told me I am beautiful. You know, the only way an African mother tells you you're beautiful is by buying you a nice dress and making sure you have everything. But that word, you're beautiful. So when he told me, I said, this is the best person.
Yeah.
He has told me I'm beautiful. This is the best person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, I mean, you said it started all well, and then when you were 6 months pregnant, that is when, so there were like no red flags here and there, because like you said, that was more on the physical, but this other aspect of verbal. Yeah, were there like things that triggered the same, or just...
You know, for a very long time, I used to blame myself.
Okay.
Maybe I am not cooking on time. This is why he's abusing me. So I used to make sure I tried being a perfectionist.
Yeah.
If it is food, let it be
You
ready
make sure
by
it's on
7
time.
a.m. Let the clothes be clean, the house is clean, just to avoid some things. And I don't know if it is a mistake I made. The mistake, I always think that the mistake I made is by telling him what happened to me when I was 16. And he was always using that.
Okay.
You see, this is, you do something, this is why this happened.
This is why
they did this to you. You're not even worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow! What do you pick from the same? Because there's so many aspects that we can look at just from the first part of her story. So many things. Of course, there's that aspect of defilement at a very young age, keeping a secret you cannot tell anyone, and then you feel worthless. You feel, you know, all those things, and then there's no that safe environment at home.
Yeah.
And I think from what you said, Pauline, that is why you decided, you know what, again as well, just go outside and see if I can get someone to love me and tell me. And just assure me that I am beautiful, I am worth it, I am enough, I am all those things.
Yeah, right. Now, from Pauline's story, you see the risk factors. And the home environment wasn't safe for her. She couldn't share with her mother what was going on. And obviously the person who assaulted her was close to the family, you know, somebody who's known to the family. And so some of the risk factors are things like what the experience that she had. There wasn't protection for her. And then number two, the emotional turmoil after the rape. Then there was a lot of questions. Who am I? Why did this happen to me? So the questioning of who I am, low self-esteem, low self-worth, self-doubt, a lot of it, and then now seeking to redeem herself. And so going out, and so even if we could get the story about, maybe if we had time and she told us how she met this guy, you would realize that she probably did not have either the time or even the know-how to really figure out who this person is. The dating period, the courtship period. Usually because she ran away from home, so she wasn't going to date this person and figure things out. So she's just looking for solace, she's looking for that emotional safety. And then what we also know about perpetrators, unfortunately a lot of people don't realize that this violent persona that they present is a cover-up for how low they feel about themselves. They are very afraid, very anxious, and they have very low levels of self-esteem.
Okay.
And so what they do, they project a lot to their partners. You have to be perfect for me to feel perfect. And then jealousies and obsession, those are other things, and a lack of empathy. So you are hearing that from this, and then now the cycle of abuse is there is the build up, then I fight, I assault you, I do whatever I do, and then I come back and I tell you how sorry I am, and then we go. So you have the honeymoon, then you have the crisis build up, then you have the crisis, and again the resolution of the crisis, and then again the honeymoon. So eventually for really Pauline, she, even at a very early age, because she says that that lasted for a year, we need to really congratulate her. At her age, she was able to walk away. There are women who have, women and men, who stay in this cycle for so long, it becomes normal for them.
And I think that is, I mean, we'll talk about this later, because, Now, another aspect of what Pauline said is she could not tell her mom.
Yes.
Because one, I mean, why? I want to understand why, because there's so many dynamics that we can look into. One, first of all, you ran away from home. So how do you go back and tell her, by the way, I got married and I have been abused, and here I am back home. Or two, the fact that, I mean, you were defiled and then you could not tell anyone. So there's that aspect of shame, probably you'll tell us on the same, but really, why?
There were a lot of reasons that I grew out of them with time. And one of it was, you know, I was raised in a society that was very harsh. Kibera for me taught me to be tough. You don't just open up anything to anyone. And I was in a society that I had from the time I was really little, when a man beats you, he loves you. So it was not for my mom, and my mom didn't believe in that. My mom was always supporting me from the time she realized I was pregnant, and even just her telling me, ukichoka, rudi nyumbani, was some little hope for me. But my question was always, why would I go back to my mother's home and then the society laughs at me? Why would I? Because they kept talking from the time I was growing, wacha tuone atafika wapi. And then I got married. She will not even stay in that marriage. She will just come back. We know her. So you see, I was a 19-year-old girl trying to fight the society and prove them wrong, and at the same time I was hurting myself. I would rather be in pain, but let the society know that we're okay. This is a perfect couple. We are fine. There's nothing happening, by the way. I am not coming back to my mother's house. So that was the greatest reason, because my parents were very supportive. My dad was always supportive, as much as he was really harsh and he got angry when I got married. He had hopes.
But I mean, like every other parent. Okay. And I think this is not, it's not only you, but I think so many people, and from what you just said, is that, I mean, you walked away after 1 year, which is really good. There's some people who choose, you know what, let me just stay. And from what you said, pretend that everything is okay. And I would rather, again, like you said, be hurt than let the people know that this is not okay. Grace, do you think it's the society that, let's say, pushes the people who are in that situation to act that way? Or sometimes we just feel outside is not safe, I would rather be in here?
Yeah, there is you know the phrase, the better the devil I know than the angel I don't know. What happens when safety is taken away from us when we are in our formative years? We begin to believe that there is nowhere in the world where it is safe. And so you kind of believe that, and so you stay because you're thinking, even if I go somewhere else, it will be the same. So why would I? At least here, I know what to expect, and this person anyway, he loves me. It's just that we need to continue to work on our relationship until we can be able to make it work. So what happens is that there is that internal communication that is again perpetrated by the society where we are living, we are growing up in. And then there is also the fact that what she said, the society does stigmatize any woman who doesn't stay in a marriage.
Yeah.
Your own mother and even your own aunties and people around you, your pastor, they will think that you're not praying enough, you're not doing enough, try do this. But unfortunately, what we do, we don't address the perpetrator and figure out what is it that is going on with them. And so there is the internal message that I'm telling myself, my value system, that I didn't get married so that I can leave the marriage. Now and the home. Now when you look at even the way that we are socialized as women, we are socialized that the home stands because the woman is strong. And is building her home. Unfortunately, that doesn't work for everyone, because again, with perpetrators of domestic violence, it goes beyond that. It's not about the woman, what she's doing or what she's not doing. It's about the perpetrator. And so there is that. The safety aspect, that is what is usually taken away. So that emotional safety, that knowing that even if I live here, I'll be safe, that is normally taken away.
And we'll also look at then the perpetrator, because most of the time we really, I mean, this doesn't justify whatever they do at all. But then again, I think sometimes we need to also understand why they are acting that way. Because, I mean, you never know. You never know. Probably that is how they were brought up, and that is the environment they know. And probably they think this is how, whether you establish you're a man of the home, or this is how you show love to your family. So I think we'll look at that aspect of then the perpetrator a little bit. But Pauline, so you had to quit work, unfortunately, and then come back home. But like you said, those 3 months, it was too much. You couldn't handle. What happened?
I even went to post-maternal depression because I couldn't handle it. I left my son when he was 1 year and one month, just going back to work, and my son is 1 month, and I am the one taking care of everything at home, making sure my son is okay, making sure he finds food. And here you are stressed every single day, every single moment you receive calls. You see, those he threatens you with, since you started working, you're too proud of yourself. Do you think you're going anywhere? You'll just come back here in this lab and you're just the same person. And I decided to quit. You see, quitting for me was to impress him, at least to have peace with myself. But it was not that way. Everything was turning out to be worse. Sometimes it's scandals with women, and since I was not raised someone who fights, I held on. I was just growing bitter every single day, growing bitter. I used to hide just to go work, just to go wash clothes sometimes, at least for my son to survive when we are 2 of us. And when my son was 1 year, that day turned to be worse because I was secretly saving for my son so that at least, you know, I used to tell myself, maybe I will not be available after 1 year. Maybe something might happen to me. I used to talk to myself a lot of things. And that night, it was at night, October 30th. It was at night, and that day I forgot the bank slips by mistake. So I was just in a rush. My mother's house was burning. So I was just in a rush. I threw things and I went to my mother. Coming back,
He
found the bank slips. And the question was, give me the PIN of this account number. And I told him I am not giving him. But this is our child, you know.
Yes.
He was so harsh at that time, and I've been angry for the last 9 months, and I am bitter at the same time. You see, at that time I was 20 already. I am asking myself questions. What have I not done for you? Where do I go wrong? And why do you want my son's bank slip in the first place? And you see, at that time, that was the first time my son cried when I was being beaten up, because he just pushed me to the bed, and I woke up and the first thing I saw was a knife. And I took the knife. And at that time, I was ready for anything.
Oh, wow.
You see the saying that we keep saying that I would rather kill you and go to jail and you in the morgue. That is what I was saying at that time, and crying. And immediately my son started crying. And I was like,
This
What is
not
happening?
Right. Can we take a break, because this is heavy and we need to just process it, and then we'll continue. But I mean, yeah, this is really, really heavy even for us here in the studio. But if you are watching us and probably you're going through the same or experiencing something more or less the same, and you're worried, you don't know what to do, or things like that, please send us a text message on 40920. We'll be right back with more. And of course, we'll also look at your questions in just a while. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Glad you're still with us. Today, of course, it's a very, very sensitive topic that we're handling today on My Doctor, and that is on domestic violence. And the reason why we chose to do this topic is because of the so many cases, of domestic violence that we hear day in, day out. Some people choose to stay, others choose to walk out. Sometimes for others it ends well, for others it doesn't. So, of course, the more we talk about it, the more, like Pauline said, it keeps the perpetrator away. So if you have any question on the same, please send us a text message on 40920. We'll be looking at them in just a while. But for now, Pauline, that's... Okay, so I don't even know where to start, because it's a lot. I'm trying to process all these things together. But from what you said, for the first time, your son cried.
Cried.
And you were, at this time, did you pick, or were you contemplating to pick the knife?
You picked the knife.
Uh-huh.
Because, it's something that I've been planning for a long time.
Okay.
I've been planning one day I will attack you back. One day I'm going to attack you back. And that day I just found when he pushed me to the bed, I just woke up and picked the knife. And I was crying at that time. I was shaking. He was afraid for the first time, and he was apologetic. I am sorry. Yeah. And my son started crying. And that is when I threw the knife down. So throwing the knife down, I gave him more powers. Yeah. So he saw we are helpless. So I just rushed to my son. I picked my son and I held him. And I was crying with my son. I remember telling my son, I promise you this is the last day you're ever going to cry tears of pain, you're ever going to suffer. And it was at 1 a.m. at night, and it was drizzling. He threw us out of the house at 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Abusing me, beating me up. But one thing I told myself, I promised him. The words I've told my son, I would rather die than come back to this house. Yeah. And I walked out of that house at 1 a.m. It was raining. He took all the blankets. I went outside. I sat. I took my son. I held him. And I said a prayer. For the first time, I said a prayer. So a neighbor came. it is something that the neighbor got used to it. Yeah. They will fight, and tomorrow you will see them laughing. You will see them laughing. And a neighbor picked my son and told me, let me just stay with your son, because I don't think you're okay to handle this child right now. And he took my son. I refused to go back. I refused to go to the house. So the man threw all my clothes outside. And at that moment, the first person I called was my dad. I called my dad. My dad was like, but I told you. But anyway, you're welcome back home. Yeah. And it was not far away from our home. So I walked to my home, to my mother's house. And at 1 a.m., I was walking back. What my mother told me that day is what gives me strength until date. Yeah. You're still my daughter. Welcome back home. She didn't tell me, I hope you've learned the lesson. No, day by day, she made sure I am strong. Yeah,
I like that. Let's pause on that positive note. At least the mother just giving you an assurance that, what, come rain, come shine, you'll still be my child. But then again, Grace, I mean, you see, most of the time, the society is really quick to judge, and they'll tell you, I mean, this person was abusing you verbally, and then it got to a point where they are physical. Why didn't you leave then? Why did you have to wait until it got too much or it got worse for you to decide, what, I can as well go? Or I would rather just, let's say, do this than go back to this house.
Right. What we need to kind of do as a society is to understand that there are many dynamics to a relationship. And like Pauline said, first of all, she wants to prove that the choice she made because she made a choice to go, run away from home and go. And so she knows she disappointed her parents, she disappointed herself, and now she has made a decision. So I'm going to be here as long, I will do everything to make sure that my decision was right. And she already told us, I was trying to prove the society wrong, that my marriage is going to work. And a lot of people who stay in these marriages is because of that. That is the one major reason people stay. Over time, we develop a helplessness and a dependence on the abuser. And now, by the time it's 3-4 years down the road, we already have 2 or 3 kids. And usually most perpetrators are very loving towards their children. And so the children love them, and so most of the times we stay because we know we don't want to answer the questions, when is daddy coming home, or when are we going back to why is daddy not here. So we feel we want to protect the children, but it's usually a way of preserving something that we don't want to continue to experience loss. And loss, when we think about losing something that you are used to, that you know how to predict, as human beings, we don't like change, and we don't like things, a life that is unpredictable. And that is why sometimes we stay in bad relationships, toxic relationships, because it's so it's predictable. I know what to expect. And so and also the fear of there is also now, when you are in an abusive relationship, especially physical, there are a lot of threats. Those threats you know, like now, when you were assaulted, you were told, if you ever say anything, we are going to kill your mom. Then you come into an abusive marriage, they tell you, even if you try to go to the police, I'll tell them, I'm going to take the kids away from you. So there are a lot of intimidation that is going on, and that causes us to lose the ability to be to know that it's going to be okay. So even if I leave, he will find me. And it will be worse. You know.
And I think, and that aspect of then, I will do this, or I'll take the kids from you. I mean, you tell a woman that you will take kids from her.
And I bowed. The boy cried. And all the anger and all the aggressiveness that was her dropped. And now she could only focus on her son. That's the way we are, because we are nurturers. That's why when that perpetrator, after the abuse, he comes and cries to us and kneels and says, I'm sorry, it will never happen again. Your mother instincts is touched, and you go back.
And I think that is what most of us don't understand, is that, I mean, you're a woman. We're naturals. You know, so you want everything to be okay, and you know, people don't get that. People will be like, why are you still there? Like we don't really understand. So I like the fact that we just bring up that aspect of trying to understand why this person is still there, and first try and be compassionate, and express empathy, especially to this other person.
And she said her mother said, when you are ready,
come back.
You know that you have a home, you are safe, because mom understood that she has to go through her process. And I want to say, Pauline, I think your mother was praying for you a lot. Because that's why she was able to turn around, and because also your home was open. Dad was open for you to come back. Mom was open for you to come back. It was easier for her to find solace at home when she finally realized, I'm going to lose my life. My son is going to lose his life, or I'm going to lose the very thing that I want to protect. And so I better leave. Just go, and then she had somewhere to go. Let me say, families, when your children are in toxic, abusive relationships, please stop telling them they have to go back and make it work. It's violence, and you are going to lose your child. If you don't lose them physically, you lose them mentally.
That's true.
Because psychologically they can't handle, you cannot handle that kind of stress. Let me say this, if that son had not been in that house and cried, we wouldn't be talking with her right now, because victims of violence, and she said, I held up so much anger for 9 months. Victim of violence, that's what happens. It's then when you are triggered and you finally have an opportunity to prove yourself and you have that chance, you are not going to spare anyone.
It's true. It's true.
And you may not have planned it.
Sometimes it just happens.
It's adrenaline. It's self-protection.
And then there's some people, I mean, I'm really glad that your parents were open to welcome you back home. There's some people who don't have that. There's people who, I mean, the families will be like, you decided to go, you just go, never ever come back to this place. So, I mean, for such people, where do you go? Because most people are scared to go to the police, because they'll be like, I don't get much help from the police. And we know this. I mean, in the country, so many people will tell you, I went to the police, I was not helped in any way. Others will tell me, you need mambo ya ndoa, you just go back. You see? So then where do you go?
Right. Now, I will say, let me say this. Especially because of children, it is important for you to report. Not so that you can, if you get the help that you need, really well and good. If you don't, keep the OB number, because the report is the paperwork that's going to help you when you are saying, I'm leaving this person and I need to take the children because he's not a safe person for me. The problem that we have is that now you decide to go and to go legal, and then he decides to fight for the children. He will also try to prove that you're not a fit mother. And you need to be able to say, I'm not a fit mother because he made me this way. And here is the record of what happened. So I will say, please seek the legal process by reporting it. And make sure that you get P3s, you get a doctor's report, because a lot of women do that, but then they decide, I don't want to prosecute the person, I don't want to go to court, but I do need to have it on record that this has been happening. So it's important for us to do that. And I know that there are a lot of policemen and a lot of places where the domestic violence is being taken seriously. So let's not just blanket everything. And then also,
plus there are other institutions and organizations as well.
Right. And then also seek professional help. Nairobi Women's, any PGH, Provisional General Hospital, the county hospitals, the level 5s, they all have gender desks where you can go and get free counseling. Please don't keep quiet. If you go to your mom and your mom is also feeling very helpless, they don't know what to do, then seek the help of professionals so that at least you can process through what's going on. It's very important to do that. If you go to your spiritual leaders, a lot of people, they end up going to their spiritual leaders, and their spiritual leaders are not also able to give much of practical things. Again, seek that, because you need the spiritual support, you need your family support, but seek also professional support. And there are a lot of organizations that will give you that. At least 1195, we know that one. 1195 is a free number that you can call if you are in a GBV situation.
And of course we'll also talk about then when do you seek help, because I think for most people they're like, me, I just want out.
Right.
I just want out, and once I'm out, then I think life just moves. And Pauline, I want to ask you this. So once you got home, did it change? Like, was life a little bit better for you, or so what happened after you decided, me, I'm out, and this is the promise that you made to your son, this is the last time this is going to happen? What happened when you got home?
You know, when I got home, I was under a caring mother, but I am the first one. My mother at that time was sick, so I had to provide for everyone now. It's not only now my son, it's everyone in the house. But I think resilience is what keeps me going to this date, because at that time I looked for a job in a club. And I grew up assuming things. I grew up telling myself, it will just pass. Tomorrow will be a better day. And that is what I used to tell myself every day. But it didn't stop. He would wait for me sometimes at midnight and fight me. He filed reports that I'm not fit to
raise.
raise the son because I am working in a club. And I got almost 4 letters from the children's department. I never used to go because I was like, I have to be at work to make sure my mother gets medication, to make sure my son is okay, and to make sure my siblings are fine. That is the most important business at that time. And it reached to a point now the case went further to Crew. And that is when I was like, okay, now let me go explain myself. I went to Crew office and I told them, these are the claims. I would not refuse because being born a woman, I have been told a lot of things. So this is not news to me. This is something that it's normal. This is the reason. These are the reasons why I'm not coming. I've not been coming. At this time, I'm always at work. This man does not provide. It's now 3 months since I left the house. He has never provided. Sometimes we would sleep hungry with my son. I would not tell him because what I would get is abuses. So I would rather keep quiet and find peace. As long as I am peaceful, I will do anything. And at that time, he was asked to take care of the child. And he said, as long as this child is not in my house, I am not going to take care of him.
Wow, okay.
And that day I told Crew officers, you are the people who called me here. I didn't come here to ask for child support. I just want assurance that I am going to be safe. Because he was going to a point of even attacking my mom and he wants to steal the child away from me. It was just a whole lot of, it was just too much, too much. And I remember one of these days, he called me a dead flower in front of a border stage.
Okay.
You see, I was just coming from work and I was happy. I used to tell myself, everything will be okay after all. And that day, I passed. And he started abusing me. And I'm not easy to exchange words with people because at that time I was still dealing with a lot of anger. So I would just do anything at any time. So I just looked at him and he abused me, a dead flower. You cannot imagine what that word made me do in my life. Because I was like, you've called me a dead flower, I am going to prove to you that I am still beautiful. And since I could not go revenge to him, I got myself into another relationship.
Oh, well.
Not because I loved this person, but just to prove to this other person, you know what? I am not a dead flower.
Can we just pause at that? Because we honestly need to end the show now, and I don't want us to really rush this. So can you promise, please, to come and just, let's finish this? Because, I mean, we need to. We need to, because you are here now. You are in a better place, I want to believe. And, I mean, for you to just share your story, even with the people, let's say, around you and to the millions of people watching this, I think you are in a better place. And we really applaud you for that and applaud you for just being strong, and especially for your son. You said you have 2 children. So we have to, this is a discussion that we need to continue. Yes, 2 boys. This is a discussion that we need to continue with. And Grace, as we wind up in like 30 seconds, the fact that, because we all think that once you're out, things will be better. But from Pauline, I mean, this guy is still just wanted to just mess her up. I mean, wait for her from work and then come and abuse, attacking the extended family, the mother. This is like too much. So what could you just say in regards to that? Because like I said, most of us think that once you're out, things will be better, but I mean, in turn, they don't.
No, they don't. And that's why you hear a lot of people, once they leave an abusive relationship, they leave the area because the abuse continues on because this perpetrator is not willing to let you be. Because again, their thing is that there is the obsession with the person, and so and there is the ego that has been hurt. There is a lot of things, emotional things that are going on, but also for the victim, there is a lot of healing that must happen. And so the more the perpetrator continues, they continue to feel unsafe. And unfortunately, one of the ways that they deal with is to find another person or to go back so that this abuse can end. And I think we'll also then, I think on our second part, we'll also focus on the healing process, because you need to heal. I mean, life is very short. You need to move on with life. You need to take care of your children and provide for them. So you need to
heal
Exactly.
and move on. So please come back and share
Yeah.
the story with us. Grace, please.
Yes.
Come back. And
Yes.
of course, thank you so much. Really, like, we really appreciate and applaud you for that. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
For the same, Chris, thank you so much
You
as
are
well.
welcome.
You know, for being with us. And of course, thank you so much for staying with us as well. I know, yeah, we cut short the you know, the discussion today, but I think we don't want to rush this. So this is a discussion that we'll also have again, so that we help so many people understand how important healing is and just pick up your pieces and move on. So my name is Winnie Lubembe. We'll see you on part 2 of domestic violence. But for now, stay safe, God bless, and see you on another episode of My Doctor. Goodbye for now.